Hey everybody, Mandy, no host here. So I'm just going to walk you through creating a Google form that you can use inside your classrooms. You can use them to collect information. You can use them to do a survey. You can use them for quizzes if you want to. So up here on my screen, there are a few ways to get to there. So you can type in forms.google.com, and that's one way you can go to there. Another way that you can get to this resource is to click on the waffle up here in the upper right-hand corner and search for form. So it'll be a purple document or a purple icon. If you don't see it here, you might need to click on more from the G Suite Marketplace. So once you click on forms, once you get there, your home page or your landing page, launch page, whatever you want to call it, from Google Forms will look something similar to this. So you can create a blank form. You can also create a blank quiz. And then they have some templates already available for you to use. So let's just start with the blank quiz. Once it opens up, it's very important to title your quiz. I know that might seem like a joke, but if you don't, when you're looking in your Google Drive, you're just going to have a lot of untitled form, untitled form, untitled form, and you really won't know which form you actually need. So what I've seen is a lot of teachers right now talking about you're going to, read chapter 2. And so you could put on here, if I can select it, you can write on here chapter 2 questions. And so if you wanted to, you can even put a description as you read chapter 2 of whatever story they're reading or whatever math problems they're doing, whatever you want to say. As you read chapter 2 of blah, 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 please answer the questions below. All right. The next thing that you want to be sure you do is to click up here in the upper left-hand corner where it says Untitled Form. That way it will transfer your title up here. So this is the title that is seen in your Google Drive when you're searching for it later. The next thing that you want to do, or I guess that I can show you about, is kind of more coloring side of things. And so I apologize about all my alarms here. Okay, so the next thing you can do on the color side of things, it's automatically going to show up purple for you. So if you click on the little palette icon where you can customize your theme up here in the upper right-ish corner, this is where you can select an image you can have as a header, you can change up the color if you want to, the background even. And then you can even change the font style. Watch out, you only have 4 font styles to go from, so you won't be spending a whole lot of time on this one. All right, the next thing is Untitled Question. So when we're headed to our first question, it is imperative that the first question always says your name, not your personal name. Please look at the computer screen. Please look at the recording and see I have typed your name. So if you are getting this out and about to your students and you just start typing questions, you're not going to know who those answers came from. So make sure the first question is your name. It's automatically going to tell you, or it's automatically going to show short answer, so the students have to type something. And the next most important thing is you're going to click required. So they cannot submit this form to you without them actually filling this portion out. So that's pretty simple. On next to the question, you have this little toolbar. The plus, of course, is going to be to add another question. And you can also import questions. Then you have a title and description. So if you want to chunk up your form, you're more than welcome to do that. If you'd like to add an image, so if you're doing maybe summarization, you can add an image here. You can add a video from YouTube, or you can add sections. So I'm just going to keep this very simple right now, since it might be new to you. I'm just going to add another question. And you can see that it's put it below here. And so you could say for this next question, what is the summary, or what is the main idea of page, I don't know, blah, 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 right? So what happens here is it doesn't know. Usually Google has that thought to automatically know what kind of response you're going for. And so in this case, it doesn't pick it up. So it's still telling me multiple choice, but I can click on this caret, and here are all the choices I have for students to be able to answer. So of course, main idea, I'm probably going to keep it to a shorter answer text. I probably don't need this long-winded thing. I know main idea is usually pretty short and simple. So I'm going to have them do short answer text. Again, I'm going to require the information, or require this answer, because if not, they won't answer it for you. Let's add another question. Maybe you'd like to ask a multiple choice question. And so you could, I'm not very good at coming up with questions on the spot, so I'm going to say ask a multiple choice question. And so here it automatically leaves it as multiple choice. For option A, I can type letter A. But then you see the suggestions, it's also saying B, C, and D. So I'm clicking on those and it's automatically answering it for me. What if you don't want to answer A, B, C, D? That's perfectly fine. You can put, tall, and I can say short. I can actually type in here what I want them, what they think the answer is going to be. Do I have to do just 4? No, I don't have to do just 4. I can even do a 5th option, or however many options that you need for that. So with multiple choice, remember, students will only be able to pick one of these 5 choices. And then, of course, don't forget to say you're going to require it. I'm going to add another question. This time I'm going to take a peek at some other options here. So feature. So checkboxes allow me to say, like if my question is describe the weather. Okay, run off subject really quick from main idea, but describe the weather. So in here, I could put different types of weather. I could put rainy, I could put sunny, I could put cloudy, I could put okay. I'm just going to put these choices. Now, when I do the checkboxes, students are allowed to check as many options that they want to. So they're not limited to just one response, like a multiple choice. Again, I'm going to click required. If I add another question, so I could even do the linear scale, right? I could put, I don't know, a good math question is 6, I don't know, let's just do, how are you feeling today, right? So if I label 1, I could say, not my best day. And then I could say option 5 would be best day of my life. And so just like you would do in survey questions with the linear scale, students could select, 1 to 5 on there. So I'll do required on that one. Another choice for questions is to have a multiple choice grid and a checkbox grid. Ladies and gentlemen, this can be a little confusing. If we're just going to keep it simple so we can collect student answers, I'm going to just stay away from these right now. I can have students upload a file. And so what happens is that they have to do the work inside of their Google Drive. So let's say for, math, we can say upload a picture of the work you did with fractions. Okay, so what students would do is you would just let them, if you wanted to only specific types of files, you could do that. I would just leave it how it is right now. Do you want them to upload one file? Is it a 3-page thing? Like what is it? So you could go 1, 5, or 10. And then the maximum file size is already set at 10 megabytes. And clearly you can see this form can accept up to 1 gigabyte. So just be mindful of that. And then you can make it required again. So math, upload a picture, and then I've made it required. The other types of things that you can do just really quickly, you can have students insert a certain time or a date. So if you had a date that was in a text, a history date or something, you could even put a date in there. A paragraph is the only one we haven't covered. So a paragraph just allows for a longer piece of written work. I can't remember exactly off the top of my head the difference between short answer and a paragraph, but I feel like the short answer is somewhere around a tweet, 180 characters or so. Don't quote me on that, but I know there is a difference. Okay, let's say I added this question and I didn't mean to, so I can quickly get rid of it by hitting delete. If I like, maybe I liked this math upload and I want to duplicate it, I can quickly duplicate that question. I don't know where it went. Of course, it's going to do that way for me. So usually, oh, here it is. So here's that one. I could also say, instead of saying math, I could say science, upload a picture of the work you did with your weather collage, something like that. So that way I wouldn't have to create from scratch. I could just quickly duplicate questions that I already have. Clearly, it already says the required. Okay, so those are some of those buttons down here. The 3 dots that you see on the other side of required, you can offer a description if you want to. So what happens with that description is we'll put it right underneath the question. You can even re-say the instructions from your Google Classroom. You have been working on a collage of the weather. You could just write your directions again underneath there if you wanted to. Okay, so we've created our basic form, right? But what if I accidentally created a basic form, but I meant for it to be a quiz? So I'll get to that in just a second. Now, if I'm ready for this basic form to go out to whomever, through Remind, through Dojo, through Classroom, through Seesaw, through whatever resource you're using, you have to do a few things first. So if you click this little settings gear wheel up here in the upper right hand corner, I would say because of our remote learning experience right now, I would go ahead and just unclick this one. Yes, students should be logged into their school Gmail account, their @ecisd.school account, but you never know, right? So just uncheck this. If you leave it checked, the only people that can complete that form are people with the @ecisd.school button. So it's up to you on that. And then you would just click save, okay? Another thing here, like respondents can. So once they go through this form, let me ask you, the teacher, a question. Do you want the students to be able to submit another form? Or do you want them to just submit once and done? So right now it's set where as soon as Mandy Nohos completes this form, she is done. But if I check this box, then Mandy can come back in and she can edit her form after she's after she submitted the first one. This is completely up to you. You do you on this. Just make sure to hit save when you're finished. And so again, I'm ready to ship this form off to collect answers. So I can hit send, and I can either email it to my parents. I feel like that's kind of the long route to go with this, but I can also create a link here. And here, this is that super duper long link that I can copy, or I can even shorten it and click copy from there. One way I could do this is, let me find a classroom that I've had. So here's my Google Classroom, and I can create an assignment, and I can call this, I think we labeled it chapter 2. Complete the form. I can put my instructions there. And so I can do this one of two ways. I can add a link, so I can paste that link in there and add it. Or because I created it in Google Forms, I can add from my drive, and then it should be in my recent, so I could even double click there and insert it. So it's whichever way you want to go about doing that. So the way that we created this form, this is just as a way to gather information, okay? But what if I created this form, but I meant it to be a quiz, okay? So it's really simple to change. I'm just gonna have to come up to my gear wheel again. And then you see it says general, presentation. If you were in class, I would say you could shuffle the question order to just lower the cheating ability, but you don't have to worry about it. This is another thing right here, show the link to submit another response. I could even uncheck that one, especially with what I'm about to do. If this is a quiz, I'm probably just going to want to see what students know at that point in time, so I can uncheck a link to submit another response. So that way I get that one question, or that one and done kind of thing. So I'm going to come over here to quizzes. And so you see everything's kind of grayed out, but if I click make this a quiz, then I've got something to work with. So let's talk about these. If I were in class, I could turn on locked mode for Chromebooks. So this is for Chromebooks only. What would happen here is that my students who are on Chromebooks couldn't open a new tab to go research and answer the question that's being asked. So it's kind of like there's no cheating involved, right? They're just on this form and that's it. Because we're all learning from home, we're all learning from different devices, so I would not check that. So release grade, there's two ways that you can do this. If it's all multiple choice and it can very well grade it for you easy peasy, then I would do immediately after each submission. But because I have that question about what is the main idea, I'm going to check after manual review, because I'm going to have to go in there and grade that myself and assign points, okay? What do you want your respondents to see? What do you want your students to be able to see? Do you want them to be able to see their missed questions? Do you want them to be able to see correct answers? Do you want them to be able to see point values? I'm going to uncheck missed questions and correct answers, because what if I make them redo this? Well, then they're going to have the correct answers right in front of them. If you want them to see the questions they missed, more power to you. And then just make sure you save this. So then something is going to change on your form. Clearly, now that I've turned it into a quiz, there's been an email address that has been added. So all students have to do is just put in their ID number at ecisd.school. So let's click on your name. Now you see this little answer key box has popped up. So I'm going to click on answer key. And here's what I'm going to do. Where it says to add correct answer, please, for the name, leave it be. Because if I put Mandy no host, or if I put please type your name, or if I put anything else other than leaving that blank, it's going to only accept the correct answer as your name or whatever you type in there. So please leave the name blank. If you want to add points for them doing their name, you're more than welcome to. It's up to you. Just when you're done with that, you'll select done. Let's go. What is the main idea? Let's click on that page. And then we can come to answer key. Okay, so I've clicked on it so I can add my answer. So what is the main idea of this page? So I can give 5 points if I wanted to. I can give 20, however many points you want to. You can also add answer feedback. So the answer feedback is once students submit this, what are they going to see? So I'm going to just say thanks for your answer. I will grade it and get the quiz back to you. So that way you can personally grade and assign the points once they're ready to go. So again, if I just type an answer, it's going to be, if the students don't say exactly what I say, then it's going to count it wrong. So I'm just going to leave it be on this one. Then I'm going to click done. For the multiple choice question, when I click on this in the answer key, this is how, okay, blue is going to be my correct answer. Again, I can assign the point value. I'm going to say done. So then you see this little check mark, and that tells you which answer is correct, okay? So again, how I did that is I clicked answer key. Blue was my correct answer, so I selected it, and then I assigned the point value, and then clicked done. So that's where I got my check mark from. At this point, you can see my total quiz is worth 11 points at this point in time. For describing the weather, you know, if you're doing this on today, then the weather might be, you can do the answer key and you might be able to say sunny and windy. Those might, you know, that might be the answer. That might be the way for them to get some correct points. But on check boxes like that, you really don't have to add a correct answer unless you wanted to. Same with how are you feeling today? If you wanted to give them, of course, points for answering the question, you can do that. And you can give feedback as well. For the questions on the uploading, when you go to answer key, so you can put the feedback, like thank you for your submission, I'll get back to you, you know, something like that if you want to, and then assign the points from there. So that, and then again at the very top tells you this is how many points this whole quiz is worth. Okay, so that's how you make it into a quiz. So what does it look like? If I want to preview this before I send it out to my students, I can click this little eyeball, and here is a preview of what they are seeing. So as you read chapter blah, 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 make sure, you know, whatever. So they would enter their email address. I'm just going to do this. They would put in their name. They would put in the main idea. They would select their answer. I could do this. How am I feeling today? I could add a file. Let me see if I can find something quick from my drive that I can just upload. This looks good. Okay, let me add a file from here. So this is what your students should be able to see when they're uploading something, whatever they have in their drive. Okay, and then they would hit submit. Oh, I forgot an answer. So this is what students will not be able to submit until they fill out all of these. That's why you want to make sure they are required. So I'll just put something in like that. Okay, submit. So then, I feel like I need some Jeopardy music. And so it's waiting. Here we go. Okay, so it tells me my response has been recorded, and this is what my students will see. So where do I go as a teacher to view the results? Well, you're going to go back to your original form, so at forms.google.com. And the first time we typed, everything was on the question tab. If you see up here, it was on the question tab. Well, now you can see I have a response. So I have one response. I'm going to click there. So what I could do, I can view this data in some different ways. I can do a summary of all my class and see what kind of responses I've gotten. I can scroll down and check them. So see, I can see that they're not getting the correct answer here. So maybe this is a way for me to reteach. I can also view this by question. So I would just use the sidebar up here to go to the next question, and all my students will have their answers underneath here. I could do it by individual student. So you see Mandy right here. Mandy has filled this information out. I could give her points for writing her name. I could give her points for this. So I can assign the point value here, and then I would just hit save, okay? There's also another way I could do this, and it's by putting this information into spreadsheets, like Google Sheets. So I can create a new spreadsheet. Since this is the first time I've ever done this quiz before, I can say, chapter 2 questions, and then I can create. And so what that'll do is it'll take it a second, but it will then put all of my information in sheets here for me. So it timestamps it for me. It gives me my email address, my student name, the score. If I've given them points, it gives them the score. And so that way I have all that information in one place. Also, it gives me a link for me to click on so that I can see what this student uploaded. So there we go. So clearly you see that there's one for the math, here's one for the science. So it's up there ready to go. I think that's about it. If I'm in my Google Classroom, I know that some answers have come up about this. Like I had my students go in, they completed the quiz, but now I can't see the results from it. I have to go back to form. So you can see that I added somebody here for chapter 2, but I can't see their results. So I have to physically go back to Google Forms, like forms.google.com, or go through my drive and find that form in order to see what questions have been answered. Here we go. In order to see my responses. So y'all, just take it easy. Remember that you can even search Google, and they have a support line out there for you as well. But if you have any questions, let your instructional technology specialist know, and we'll get you fixed up. Thank you, and have a great day.